the next conversation is conversational commerce. To anyone that doesn't know what that is, that's the intersection between messaging technology and shopping. And it's a really cool space. We're definitely seeing the market shift into this direction. So now on to our next speaker, which is Terence Rajah, who is Principal Commerce Consultant at Liveperson. So Terence and I actually go way back. We worked together at Adobe. I have many fond memories of us in Bangkok, running around to customer meetings, drinking lots of Chang beer. But Terence is actually been in e-commerce since 2000, so he's an absolute veteran in this space and has worked with many leading brands on customer experience through his tenure at Adobe and IBM and SAP. Terence now works at Liveperson, which is a conversational AI platform providing solutions for customer care, conversational commerce, and voice solutions. Liveperson allows Terence to explore solutions, enable brands to engage with their customers via social, web, and app. So today's session is conversational commerce, meeting customer demands through the sales funnel. So let's welcome Terence onto the stage.
So thank you once again, Annie, for the great introduction. My name is Terence Rajah. I'm representing Liveperson. And today the topic that we're going to be talking about is conversational commerce. Now, you might be wondering what that is, but don't worry, we'll get there. We'll set the stage and go and explain. But before we get into the depths of conversational commerce, I thought we'll go a little bit back in time. Let's hope this clicker works. Perfect, right? Now, our forefathers actually engaged in a conversation with each other way back, when they were doing the barter trades, right? Now, you might argue, what kind of language were they using? Or maybe they were talking at the tip of a spear, right? Buy for me or else, right? But they had an engagement going, right? And then when we moved into the industrialization age, right, we actually scaled these engagements both in size, volume, and complexity. And that culminated in trading establishments, just like what Singapore is today. As we moved into that's one click too many. As we moved into the digitalization age, the advent of commerce coming up, we talked about experiences. And all of you are seasoned commerce professionals, I know, because I've worked with some of you. I'm looking at some of you. And you know, we coined such terms as unified commerce, omni-channel commerce, right? And even now, we have a sort of an institution called the Mark Alliance talking about composable commerce, right? But all these discussions are about the platform and how the platform gives the experiences. At this point in time, the engagement between the customer and the organization or the brand started to go a little bit lower. And if you look at mobile experiences, why is this clicker moving one click too many? Okay. I have to keep checking what it does. Okay. As we move into the mobile commerce, right, the advent of smartphones and different kinds of smart devices, we look at how payments are bring on the phone itself, goods, services, and exchange. But we started again to see that small little dip in engagement. So over the years, where engagement was high in the beginning, smaller dip, that's having the peaks and troughs of that engagement. But as we moved into the social world, the rise of social influencers, the great thing about social influencers is they know how to entertain, they know how to engage, and they also know how to influence. And that's why you see how people are starting to engage with these social influencers. Organizations or brands have started to realize that, right? They've started to realize, hey, we need that one-to-one engagement. And that is why, not too long ago, they started to do, I'll skip that, a live chat, right? So, interesting story. The founder and CEO of Liveperson, Rob Lacasio, he founded live chat in 1995, right? Actually founded. So, the story goes, he was on a website, Dell website to be exact, and he was trying to purchase a computer online. He had questions to ask, but he had to call a number. And that number, when he called, put him on hold for about 30 minutes or so. He didn't really get to speak to anybody. And he was wondering, there must be a way for me to get the answers that I want from the website, okay, talking to a live person. And that's how the company's name was born. He decided to create that live chat capability and call it Liveperson, right? But live chat has its drawbacks. For one, you need an agent to be present. Two, it's all textual in nature. So you can see, why is this clicker moving without me clicking? There is an auto transition. Oh goodness. Okay, that means I need to keep up with the slides. Okay, excuse me while I keep looking back. Okay, so that's when messaging came about. Now, messaging came about because it's actually great for organizations to engage with their customers using rich media and that vast array of messaging channels, right? Couple that with structured content that you can send. So that screenshot shows about how purchasing bonus miles, right? But messaging alone was not able to bring that whole engagement into your sales funnel. And that's why Liveperson has moved into conversational commerce. What is conversational commerce? It's the ability to use your messaging channels to interact with your customers, to exchange rich media, rich content, product information, card information, and finally, thanks for letting me know, finally payment as well, right? To allow you to do the whole transaction front to back. This is throwing me off, but I will try to work through it. Right, so why is conversational commerce important? Because of messaging. The rise of messaging is now 20% bigger than social networks. If you look at it, 41 million messages are sent every minute. Almost 3 billion users on messaging apps, and a further 605 billion hours are spent on messaging. These figures are a little bit outdated. So nowadays, if you took the later figures, it would be higher. So just give an example. So I flew in here on Saturday, and I actually wanted to rent a car. My flight landed at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday evening. And surprise, surprise, none of the big car rental agencies actually operate on Saturday afternoon. I'm assuming that during COVID, they actually stopped their service. So what I did was I got a number through my nephew, and I was basically sending messages back and forth using WhatsApp. Right? I paid the security deposit. I sent a copy of my driver's license and my IC for those in Singapore, identity card. And then they told me where exactly to meet and pick up the car. Right? So it was a great experience. Now, if you want to know what happened with the car, please visit me at the booth. It's a long story, and I don't have time to talk about it. But that's how we are starting to engage with brands out there. Now, in Singapore itself, what did Liveperson do? We worked with an organization called HealthServe, right? It may not be fresh in your memories right now, but about 2 years ago when we had the lockdown, the migrant worker communities were hit really hard. So we actually came up with the opportunity to work with these migrant workers to provide that conversation for them in their own language. So we were supporting English, Malay, Bengali, and Urdu, if I'm not wrong, right? So those were the ability to actually engage with the audience. Now, the messaging channels have grown over the years. In fact, we are starting to see new channels being introduced, but the basic tenets remain the same. They are a means for you to engage in a conversation with the customer, right? Now, how does that apply to you, commerce professionals? That's why you are here for. That's why I'm here for as well. So let me break it down. I'm going to give you very specific use cases and how it works with commerce. So there are 3 distinct commerce stages, and most of you would agree with me. If you don't, during the Q&A, please call me out. First, order capture. Second, order processing. And third, order fulfillment. CPF. I'm depending on Chill here to tell me the slides are moving on their own. CPF, right? 3 important words for Singaporeans. You understand what that means, so easy for you to remember. Capture, processing, and fulfillment. Now, the first use case for order capture, we'll be looking at what we call a virtual concierge. The example that you have up here is for Tiffany's, but the idea is it does not have to be for high luxury good items. Having a conversation, in this specific case, is with a human agent. Having the conversation with the brand allows customers to then ask certain questions. So it could be that the brand or the user is browsing on your page, you have a great website, great experience, but they land on a particular product detail page or PDP page, and they want to know a little bit more, right? You can't obviously have everything in your product description. And that's where the ability to launch a conversation is very useful, right? But it's not just a human agent. We have this image of a human and a bot dancing together. It might happen tonight, okay? But this is what we call a bot-human tango. So the conversation could start with a human agent and transfer to a bot, or vice versa. It could start with a bot and hand over to the human. The idea behind it is that low-value conversations would be handled automatically by a bot, and high-value conversations, the one that has a little bit more emotions, will be handled by an agent, right? Now, to put this in perspective, an agent possibly can only handle 40 messages per hour. They need to answer questions, respond, and so on, right? But the combination of both the bot and the agent, wow, the lights just dimmed. The combination by bot and agent allows that scale to be increased to about 75 messages per hour, right? So you can easily handle the high number of conversations coming in without increasing your workforce. And it's not a one-way traffic. You can't just throw from a bot to an agent or vice versa. You need to be able to do multiple back and forths, right? Let's put Tiffany's as an example again. Let's say, for example, a lady goes into a page with a bracelet, and she wants to know whether this bracelet appears in different colors. That's a simple question to answer, right? Does it have in blue, green, or yellow? I'm making the colors up. The answer would be yes, it's in blue, green, yellow, and red, for example. But if she wanted to know, this bracelet match with a dress that I'm planning to wear in a wedding? How would a bot answer that? It can't. That's a human, a transfer to a human. And the human, how does a human see that what dress you're wearing? Because the ability to launch into a video chat, right? So this conversation has that capability so that the agent sees that based on the experience would then be able to give advice. Yes, it matches with this dress, maybe not, maybe another bracelet would match, right? If I was a human agent, I wouldn't be able to give any expert advice at all, right? Okay, and back to measuring success, right? We have what we call a sentiment scoring. So as we engage customers in these conversations, we are continuously gauging, is this conversation great? How do we score it? And how do we improve the agents? Now, for agents, it's easy. We can do the sentiment scoring. For bots, it's a different proposition altogether. Bots could pose a response to say, choose an option A, B, or C. Customer chooses B. How do we know that it's exactly what they wanted, right? So we have something called a meaningful automated conversation score, MACS. The combination of these two is the building blocks of what Liveperson is going to achieve next, which is what we call self-healing AI. Self-healing sounds great, right? It's the ability for the bots to now understand where they are falling short in their engagement with the customers and then take corrective action to do that, right? Okay. Oh, it moved again. And these things with Tiffany, when they engage a customer, has increased their what we call a CSAT score by greater than 85%. That QR code is active. So if those of you want to buy a bracelet, hint, hint, for those who need to buy for their wives or spouse or whatever, you can actually click on that QR code and have an engagement. Now, second use case, abandoned cart. Very familiar with all you commerce professionals out here, right? But typically, especially in commerce platforms, it's primarily through email. Sometimes you would have SMS, right? But what happens is that if the email doesn't go to a junk folder, you probably won't get a conversion. Why not do that proactive messaging through WhatsApp when a customer abandons the cart? You already have his number, assuming it's authenticated. So you send it through WhatsApp, you have the proactive, and you allow him to actually transact in that channel. The customer doesn't have to click a link and go into the website, right? Third use case in order processing. Thanks, Annie. Substitution. So all of you, this is going to be a Q&A, but I had to speed up. All of you may have, or some of you may have ordered items from grocery departments during the pandemic, and guess what? You probably got a different product than what you ordered for, right? Maybe that 1 liter milk became a 2 liter milk. Maybe it didn't come at all, right? In grocery terms, it's common, it's called product substitution. This thing is going back, yes, product substitution. And it's a simple solution to solve with messaging. Again, proactive outbound messaging, telling them that we are short of these products. Would you like to change it to something else? And then the customer will make the changes and send it through. This next slide is talking about channel and device agnostics, right? Some of your customers may have implemented an app on the platform, your commerce platform, and some are just using either a PWA site or a mobile browser site. It does not matter. What matters is that we can then continue that engagement over a medium, just like an Apple device or a Google Android device, and have that conversation continuing with the customer. Third, this should be the fourth use case under order fulfillment, order tracking, right? Nothing infuriates customers more than the knowledge or lack of knowledge of when the item is going to be delivered. So having the ability to proactively reach out to customers through the conversation channel, through the medium of their choice, allows them to say that, hey, can you reschedule the delivery time? Oh, yes, I'll be in. Another great example in fulfillment is order splitting, right? All of you know that when you place an order, the items may not arrive at the same time because it needs to be split due to lack of inventory. What if you are able to tell your customer, look, we had to split them. Do you want a choice of consolidating the order? How easy would that be? How great would the customer feel if he has a power of choice to say, yes, consolidate, no, deliver separately? Right, and all of this has to be done or supported by superior platform. In Liveperson, we have various niche areas to support this journey. The most important one will be the top, the one the right side, which is open platform. That's how we work with commerce platforms, right? We are like the Switzerland of e-commerce. We are friends to all. As long as you expose a REST API, and please tell me which commerce platform worth its salt doesn't expose a REST API. None. As long as you expose a REST API, we will be able to integrate, right? We have event-based triggers as well using a low-code platform. So we OEM Wakato at the back, which we are able to build the workflows and trigger abandoned cart scenarios and so on. And I'll be remiss of not talking about cookieless world, especially in Adobe event. So Adobe is always talking about first-party data and the cookieless world. So what we do is we partner with Adobe. We're a big partner of Adobe on providing what we call the next best conversation, NBC. That's actually working with both Adobe Target and Analytics to deliver the right message at the right time, personalized to the user. And finally, to wrap up, why conversational commerce? First, improve your conversion rates. We saw how we actually could use it in the virtual concierge scenario. Second, enhancing the customer experience. We saw a little bit on the product substitution analogy or use cases, as well as the abandoned cart as well. And then scaling a lower cost. That's where the hybrid model of the bot and the human tango comes along, right? And then greater engagement and interaction. That's your channel agnostic and mediums that you would reach out to your customer. And finally, gathering valuable feedback. So each of these interactions and conversations have an opportunity at the end for the customer to indicate their survey, whether they liked the experience, what they didn't like, and so on. If you have a tool like Medallia, the back end will integrate to that. The end result was that ability to then pull all these responses together and fine-tune the process, right? It was a very rush session with the slides running ahead of me, but I know we are almost at time. So I want to give this last few minutes for any questions and answers. Yes, please.
First of all, thank you so much, Terence. Even though your slide deck was autonomous of yourself, I really enjoyed your presentation.
This is not a planted question.
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
In terms of, say, the whole discussion and conversational app, are you also doing payments within the messaging app? Can you fully check out in a messaging app?
Great question. The answer is yes, we do end-to-end. So payments, in fact, if you are able to visit us at the booth, we'll show you a demo where we integrate to a payment provider, not yours, but a payment provider, but the same concepts work. So you can actually browse through the catalog, product information within the channel, the conversation, and execute payment end-to-end without even going to the website, right? Why would that be useful? Because when a customer browses and moves away from your website, and 24 hours later you ping him on his WhatsApp channel and say, hey, you saw this thing, would you like to buy? And he doesn't have to go out of the channel, he can actually engage all the way to the end. Or another example is conversational ads. You put an ad out and say, click here, and there's a call to action. They can do the whole experience in their channel of choice. Does that answer your question? Thank you for the question, and Andrew has something for you for raising the first question. Oh, yeah, see what you get for asking a question? Anyone else? Do we have time for another one? Yes, please. Absolutely. In fact, you have to give this because Andrew is working with a pharma company as we speak. So, let me explain how pharma companies works. Because you have some customers are engaging pharmaceutical companies because of some condition, they are more likely to be wanting to talk to a bot than a human. Sometimes they are shy with the condition. So when they ask questions, so the conversations can be structured in a way, I have a skin problem or an acne problem, what do you expect? And the bot has to be empathetic. That's the key thing, right? I couldn't cover everything here, but if you go to the booth, we'll tell you a little bit more. The bot has to be empathetic. The bot has a name. Say, hi, yes, we understand that you have a problem. There's so many ways we can deal with it. What would you like to do? The result, the response A, B, or C will then trigger what we need to do based on knowledge-based articles and so on. But we work across all industries and all customers types, so we definitely support pharmaceutical. One of our biggest customers is CVS in US. Okay? Do we have time for a third one? Yes, please.
So what we've seen here is a chatbot, an interaction which is, let's say, reactive, right? Someone engages and you have a reaction to a bot that comes to question. Do you see this going in the opposite direction, where the software, where the bot will start interacting with the person who are triggering when they approach a certain stage of their journey on the site?
Absolutely. So some of the last example, the next best conversation with Adobe, that's precisely that use case. When the user is actually, so what happens is Target and Analytics are analyzing where the user is going, they're feeding into the Adobe Experience Platform. It triggers us to ask a question at that point depending on where they are on the journey. So absolutely we see that. We're actually already doing that. Proactive messaging is another big use case of ours, where we reach out to the customers even before they come to us, right? So brands are doing that. Healthcare is one of the ways they do that. Insurance as well. So when you purchase an insurance policy with one of our customers in Australia, they'll proactively trigger about a month later, say, how are you doing, as things worked out and so on. So absolutely we see it going both ways as well. Thank you for your questions. We weren't expecting, see, that's why you have to be fast. It's not about asking questions. You have to be first out of the block. But please see us at the booth. You will definitely get one. All right. Thank you all for your time. And I'm going to hand back to our lovely host, Annie McNamara.